She was just the quiet girl in the armory, cleaning guns, counting breaths. Then a stranger asked, "Can you hit it 4,000 meters?" Her answer woke ghosts, drew fire, and forced one impossible choice. Don't blink. Jessica Mitchell worked where echoes slept. The armory was a square of humming lights, oil, and silence. She liked it that way. She liked the way steel gave honest answers. Either a bolt locked or it didn't. Either a barrel sang or it didn't. Her watch was broken. The glass had a hairline crack. The second's hand stuttered, then froze, then slid again like it had lost faith. It had belonged to her mother. The only thing that still ticked near Jessica was memory. On the far table, an empty wallet lay open. A hinge of leather and air. It reminded her what she had already spent to stay invisible. Money, time, names. The door clicked. Heat walked in before the man did. Boots, sand on the mat, a faint grit in his voice. "You're Mitchell," he said. She kept wiping carbon from a chamber until the cloth came up clean. "Sometimes," she said. He stood a moment, reading the neat rows of labeled trays. He looked at the racks, the index cards with torque numbers in slim pencil. He looked at the broken watch beside the solvent bottle. Then he looked at her like he'd seen a shape on a horizon and wasn't sure if it was a mirage. "Rowan Hale," he said. "I'm a sniper." "Visiting detachment," she nodded. She didn't stand. The metal in her hands needed her to finish. Finishing was a kind of prayer. He set a rangefinder on the table. "We're stretching the line this week. Long glass, thin air. Do you shoot?" "I clean," she said. "That a no?" "That's a sentence." He smiled like dust shifting. "There's a pale rock out there. 4,000 meters. Men make careers trying to touch it." He tapped the rangefinder once. "You think you can?" Silence crawled up the walls and sat in the rafters. She closed the receiver. Checked the bolt face again. Laid the rifle down. The watch ticked once. Stopped. Started. She had walked a long, dusty road to get to a room where nobody knew the way she used to breathe. She had promised herself she would never be the wind again. He watched her thoughts pass across her face the way wind crosses scrub. "No pressure," he said. "Just a question." Her eyes shifted to a long case under her workbench. The handle was worn smooth. She hadn't opened it in 2 years. Not since the last time passing clouds had looked like smoke to her. She slid the case out, popped the latches. The old rifle lay there still as a rumor. The stock had a scar. The barrel had been lapped until you could see your future in it. The magazine smelled faintly of cedar and gun oil. It was not a new weapon. It was an old promise. She lifted it like it might break. It didn't. It felt like her own pulse. 4,000 meters, Rowan said, softer. "No one will fault you if you say no." She stood. The empty wallet stared at her like a question mark. The broken watch ticked again. The room felt smaller. The sky beyond the door felt endless. "Show me the rock," she said. The range was a vein of heat laid on hard earth. The air shimmered. Mirage ate distance. The target was a pale fleck near the end of everything. She unfolded the bipod, laid down, pressed the cracked watch into the dirt beside her elbow. A little weight. A little time. Rowan went prone a step away. "I'll spot." She looked through his scope, then her own. The world narrowed to a thin tunnel of light and heat. Her breathing fell into the old cadence before she could stop it. In. Hold. Out. Rest. Wind slid right to left. Not steady. It pulsed like a tired heartbeat. Mirage drifted at a slant. She wrote nothing down. The numbers lived behind her eyes. "Any time," Rowan said. She felt the old thing inside her rise. Not hunger. Not pride. Something like peace with teeth. Her finger took up slack. The sear kissed the edge of decision. She exhaled to the bottom of breath, and something moved where no one should have been. A glint in the far haze, a second shimmer near the rock, a shape that shouldn't exist at 4,000 meters. She paused on the trigger, and the wind died all at once like it had heard her name. She fired. The desert held its breath with her, and the pale rock did not move. Or did it? Rowan sucked air through his teeth. "Jessica," he said, voice tight. "You're not aiming at the rock anymore." "Who did you just hit?" Silence rang. It had edges. Rowan's scope clung to the horizon. He didn't blink. "Call your shot." Jessica stayed in the glass. Mirage fluttered, then stilled. The pale rock was steady. The second glint was gone. Dust drifted over a darker smear where nothing had been a breath ago. "Not the rock," she said. "Something behind it." "Metal, a plate?" "No, moving. You saw a person?" He didn't lift his head. I saw a choice, she said. He grunted. Impact was off the rock's back shoulder. I saw a spark before the puff. Someone put steel there. Bait, she said. For who? For anyone who could reach that far. Rowan finally rolled off the scope. He wasn't smiling now. The question stung. We're not the only ones stretching range, he said. Someone else wanted to know if anybody out here has long hands. The heat leaned on them. A fly traced circles. The broken watch face threw a tired shard of light across her forearm. Footsteps scuffed behind them. An officer she didn't know. A clipboard. A neat, indifferent smile. Mitchell. Captain wants to see you. Rowan barked a breath that might have been a laugh and might have been a curse. Of course he does. The captain's office smelled like paper and desert. He read her file like it was a map to a minefield, then looked up and studied the person, not the paper. You were quiet enough to be furniture, he said. Now everyone is saying your name and a number. He tapped the desk twice. 4,000. She didn't answer. Silence kept its back straight beside her chair. You hit something no one could see, he said. Or no one else tried to see. His eyes slid to her cracked watch. You carry the past like a metronome, Mitchell. Can you carry a team? She kept her gaze level. I clean. That's not what I asked. Her empty wallet was in her pocket. She could feel its hollowness like a room with the lights off. She thought about the dusty road that had brought her here. She thought about the shimmer that had winked and vanished and might have been a scope. Or a message. Or a dare. Who put that steel there? She asked. We don't know yet, he said. But they wanted to talk to whoever answered. He slid a folder across the desk. The top page was a photo of a canyon mouth with a hairline service road stitched along its lip. A range card. Handwritten notes. A string of numbers. The last 2 digits, 40. Training detachment received an anonymous drop, he said. Coordinates. Wind roses. Elevations. Somebody out there thinks you can read what they write at a distance. What if the note is a trap? She asked. It is, he said. All good tests are. He sat back. I'm giving you a spotter and 2 eyes on your flank. You will not take the bait if the bait looks like blood. Understood? She nodded. Rowan was waiting at the door as if he had known the outcome. He could read rooms the way she read wind. We going? We're walking, she said. Dusty rode first. No trucks, he raised an eyebrow. Why? People who measure light that far can hear engines, she said. Boots are quieter. Boots are honest. They moved when the heat loosened. The road unrolled under them like an old tape. Mesquite. Rusted fence wire. Sky that looked like it had been hammered flat. She kept the broken watch on her wrist even though the strap had a cracked stitch. She kept the empty wallet in a front pocket where it couldn't fall out. She kept the long case in her hand like it was a violin and she had finally agreed to play. An hour in, they found the first mark, a soda can wired to a stake, a small paper square taped to its side. She pulled it off and held it to the light. Hand-sketched wind arrows. A note in tiny print, if you can read this, you're late. Rowan circled the can once. Cute, they kept going. Second mark. A shard of mirror faced toward the ridge she'd shot from. Third mark. A hand-drawn watch face inside a circle. The second's hand broken. She felt the cold crawl up her spine even in heat. It's not a trap, Rowan said. It's a conversation. At 4,000 meters, she said. They reached the canyon lip at dusk. The world fell away. Heat bled out of the ground. Wind lifted like a curtain. Across the gap on the sister ridge, a single pale flicker woke, as if someone breathed on a coal. Rowan raised the spotter's glass and whispered, I have an optic glint, stationary, elevation higher than us. His voice thinned. Jessica, it's aimed at where we're lying. She eased the cracked watch off her wrist and set it on the stone in front of her barrel like an offering. The dim sky held its light. Do we wave? Rowan asked. We answer, she said. She slid the bolt home. A shadow moved near the flicker. A hand. Then a small flash of white. A card lifted and held to the lens. She read the letters through the wavering air. Hello, Mitchell. She let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Another card came up. 2 words. Your move. She lowered her cheek to the stock, and before she could decide how to speak at that distance, the pale flicker shifted, and the world in her scope went black. Her heart snagged. Rowan, she whispered. I just lost them. They killed their light, or... The stone under her hands trembled. A round had hit the rock 2 meters to her right, and it had come from behind them. The shot shredded lichen. Pebbles tapped her cheekbone. The crack reached them late, thin and high, like glass breaking across a gym. Rowan slid left in one clean muscle and found the arc with his scope. "Back ridge," he hissed. "We got mirrored." She did not lift her head. Lifting heads got people turned into mistakes. Distance? Hard to tell. "Mirage is dirty. Call it 2700. He paused. "No, longer, 3-2. Angle. Shallow. Whoever it is, they're above our back trail." The empty wallet pressed her hip. The broken watch face reflected the last slice of day. She pushed the watch under the barrel. It steadied the bipod foot on a sliver of rock as if it had always been meant for that job. Her chest slowed. The numbers sat up straighter in her mind. She rotated her scope. The canyon's other side stared back, bored. Behind them, the ridge hummed with nothing you could see. Another angry sprinkle of rock stung the stone where Rowan had been. He had already moved. He was fast. He had learned a long time ago that speed is just patience with a mask on. "Whoever is back there," he said. "They're not rushing. They're not showing. They're measuring," she said. "You?" "Me." She eased right until a narrow notch offered a sliver of sky over their back trail. She dialed down to gather light, then dialed up to cut the shimmer. The wind drew a straight line along the grass, then decided it would rather draw circles. "Gimme a flag," Rowan whispered. He meant any edge that would tell them how the air was lying. She slid a strip of tape from her pocket, pressed it to her cleaning rod, popped the rod up an inch. The tape quivered. Left, paused, left again. 3-4 left. He breathed. "Copy." She did not exhale. She let breath leak until it was a thread. A third strike hit. Closer. Whoever held the other rifle knew her patience and wanted to peel it back one layer at a time. Rowan whispered, "We can drop below the lip, belly the road, and they'll punch low if we move," she said. "They can read us." "Mitchell, let me listen." The canyon carried quiet the way a bowl carries water. She let it fill. In the quiet, a thin metallic rattle. Not their gear. Not Rowan's known music. Something farther back, something loose on a pack. No, a sling ring? No, it came in little teeth, regular. The sound of a shutter door in a wind. Or a watch trying to tick. Her mother's broken watch told no time. It told hours by light and work. Now it sat under her barrel like a coin on a dead man's eyes. She slid back a hand's width and drew the empty wallet out. The leather was worn thin at the corners. She kissed it for luck like she used to when luck was a thing made of breath. Another glint flashed in the notch. Not from the shooter. From a rock near them. The mirror shard from the second trail marker, wedged into a crack. Someone had placed it in their path on purpose. To catch light. To make a decoy. To pull fire. They had walked into a lesson. "Rowan," she said. "We weren't ambushed. We were invited." "By who?" "The person across the canyon," she said. "The same person behind us. That's 2 shooters. Or one good one who can move like time." "How?" "By not being where we think yet," she said. A 4th round spanged metal. The mirror shard winked into dust. Pebbles jumped. The shooter behind them had just killed their decoy. Rowan grunted. "They're bracketed. They're close on us, not close," she said. "Careful." She counted the seconds between the shimmer of impact and the sound. She counted again. She suppressed the urge to do the math out loud. 3,000 even, she said. Plus or minus a prayer. He breathed through his nose. "You sure?" "My bones are." "Then we need to scoot." She lifted her face. "We need to talk." "To who?" She held the empty wallet up into the notch. It fluttered like a moth. The leather caught the last light and offered it to the ridge like a signal flag. She kept her fingers low and still. The next round touched the wallet's edge and ripped air from it. The flap dragged off and tumbled down the face of the rock. Paper blew out like doves. "Okay," Rowan said. "They can see." She slid one paper back toward her with a fingertip. It wasn't a receipt. It was a tiny card with tiny print. "Wind arrows, elevations, a small circle with a tick at 12. Another at 4. The second hand missing." "They know my watch," she said. "Or they know you," Rowan said. She set the card on the stone where the shooter could see it in the notch. She took her pencil and wrote one word under the little circle. Why, she pushed it forward. The evening breathed. A full 5 count later, a gentle clink sounded somewhere far enough away that the sound arrived tired. Another round. Not at them. At a stone 6 feet to her left. The impacts wrote in dust. 2 dots, a dash. 2 dots, Rowan muttered. Morse, she translated without thinking. It was not a word. It was a time 04. They want a dawn shot, she said. Where? A tiny wind lifted the paper and turned it. On the back, a pencil map she had not drawn. 2 ridges, a shallow dip between. A tiny X where they lay, a longer X across the way, and a third mark farther out, barely a bead. 4,000 in a breath. They want the long one, Rowan said, low and almost reverent. They want to see if you can talk that far. She slid the paper back into the open where the watcher could read her answer. She wrote one more word under the little map. Okay. She set her cheek to the stock. We stay, she said, through the dark? Rowan asked. In the dark, no one can count how much you shake, she said. He lay back down beside her. He did not argue. He knew a moment when it had to be sat with. Night climbed out of the canyon and put stars in the watch glass like seeds. At 3:59, Rowan whispered, Mitchell. But the world made another choice. A small engine coughed down on the service road. Headlights blinked. A truck where no truck should be. Doors popped. Voices. Flashlights skittered like ants. Rowan swore. Civilians? The first flashlight speared straight across their notch and set the ridge opposite ablaze. A round came back immediately. Not for them. For the light, the beam died as if the night had eaten it. Go, someone shouted below. Boots scrambled. Jessica's throat closed. The plan was ash. The dawn shot had become a mess. She found the new shape through glass and breathed one word. Child. A small figure stood in the road, frozen, a paper kite of a person. The engine coughed again. The child didn't move. Rowan's voice frayed. Mitchell. She felt the long road she had walked. She felt the broken watch against stone. She felt the empty wallet light as air. The unseen shooter shifted. She could feel it in the way the canyon's quiet changed shape. She had to speak first, or this would be a language written only in loss. She drove her reticle off the plan and onto the impossible. Cover, she said. I'm going to steal a second. What in the... She pressed the trigger half a life and held it there. On my breath, she said. And then what? Rowan asked. She took the last of her air. And then, she said, we find out who's teaching me. She finished the pull. The shot left like a held word. The rifle came back into her shoulder and asked if she still meant it. She did. Stone spat at the roadside. A taillight burst into cough red. The child flinched and dropped. Another voice shouted. A hand grabbed small shoulders and dragged them into the dark under the truck. The engine died. The canyon took a breath of relief, then held it again because nothing was done. Rowan exhaled a swear he'd saved for years. You missed on purpose. I hit what they were aiming at next, she said. He understood and hated it and loved it all at once. You cracked the plan to save their plan, he murmured. Far back on the ridge, the unseen answered. A round curled in and kissed the road where the child had been. Late because she had moved time with her shot. Okay, Rowan said. Okay. Floodlights snapped to life behind them. Not cars, towers. Someone had heard the first echo and woke the base. The canyon blanched white. Bad, Rowan said. We're silhouettes. She did not move. Movement was a language shooters liked to read. Find me their new air, she said. Rowan laid the spotter to the notch. Winds breaking to nothing in the low, then slipping right at our line. Mirage is ugly. Good, she said. How the hell is that good? Ugly air makes honest shooters, she said. Pretty air makes liars. She dialed, undialed, dialed again. She wasn't chasing perfection. Perfection was a dog that wouldn't come. She was building a pen and waiting. A shape on the back ridge rose 2 inches, then melted. Not a head. A scope hood. The kind of tease you use to measure a mind. She didn't shoot at it. She shot at the stone 2 feet east of it. The splash told a story. The story said the wind's first truth had turned false at 10 meters and would lie again at the last 10. A deceitful friend, she smiled. She had learned to live with deceitful friends. Rowan said nothing. He knew this smile. It was the one that said math had just fallen into place like a ladder. The flashlight under the truck flicked once, then twice, a code for help with no letters. She ignored it with love. You're going to shoot the long one blind? Rowan asked. I'm going to make them shoot first, she said. She pushed the broken watch an inch forward until the shard of glass caught the flood spill and threw a weak, nervous glint. The back ridge shooter saw the tremble. The shot came for it, fast and sure. The cracked glass jumped in a tiny flare as the bullet's slipstream slapped it. "Thank you," she whispered. She could hear Rowan grin without seeing it. "You're rude." "I'm learning," she said. She counted the new lie in the air. She put it next to the old truth. She added the shadow where the scope hood had dared. 3978 to 4025, she murmured. "We're in the ocean now." "You can't know that," Rowan said. She didn't answer. The numbers weren't knowledge. They were a path her feet remembered. She skimmed the reticle off the tees and onto the absence where a careful shooter would be after they teased.